September 1944, Eastern France. American troops had encircled a German garrison holed up inside an old stone fortress. Thick walls rose from a hilltop, interlocking fields of fire covered every approach, and inside roughly 1,500 German soldiers, infantrymen, artillery crews, and retreating officers waited under the command of a major who vowed he would never yield. General Patton dispatched an officer under a white flag with a single offer: surrender now, and you and your men will be treated as prisoners of war under the Geneva Convention. The major's reply was short, fiery, and unyielding. Tell General Patton that if he wants this fortress, he'll have to kill me to take it. Meant to sound noble, the statement was also an unmistakable challenge. Patton's answer, delivered without a hint of hesitation, was 4 words: I can arrange that. Patton's staff braced for frustration or orders to bypass the strongpoint. Instead, their commander moved with icy pragmatism. The major had spelled out his terms: death in defense of his position. Patton would grant that wish efficiently and overwhelmingly. Orders went out immediately to surround the fortress completely, cutting off any chance of resupply or escape. Engineers scouted for water lines to sever. No relief would arrive for those inside. Within hours, every heavy gun within range was zeroed on the fortress's walls. This was no haphazard shelling. Coordinates were carefully plotted so that each 155mm round struck the thickest stonework, seeking to breach walls and collapse vaulted chambers. Next, Patton called in air support. P-47 Thunderbolts loaded with precision bombs aimed at the command post, munitions dumps, and artillery positions. Then came the psychological hammer. Loudspeakers boomed on the ridge, the schedule of destruction. At dawn, your defenses will be torn down by artillery. In mid-morning, fighters will strike. After that, infantry will storm the ruins. Surrender before it begins. You have an hour. Patton made it clear to his officers that this would not be a drawn-out siege. The major had demanded a fight to the death. They would provide exactly that, but in hours, not weeks. The message to American soldiers was equally stark. The enemy refused clemency. What followed was the major's choice, not ours. All through the night, men inside paced their chambers, hearing the loudspeakers and knowing what awaited them. At first light, the fortress trembled. Artillery fire rained in systematic salvos on predetermined sectors. Wall after wall shattered under the weight of repeated impacts. German guns tried to reply, but instant counter-battery fire suppressed them. Any crew that dared to man a howitzer found themselves under withering American fire within minutes. After 2 hours of bombardment, the Thunderbolts roared in. Bombs fell precisely where Patton's staff had marked them. The major's command post was leveled. Secondary explosions in ammunition stores sent shockwaves through the compound. The main gate was ripped from its frame. Still, the loudspeakers carried on, urging those inside to abandon their posts and march out with hands up. Your lives will be spared if you surrender now. Small groups of German soldiers emerged in the rubble, waving white cloths. Dozens followed as shattered morale spread. The major, determined to maintain order, had loyalists execute any man who tried to surrender, but each execution only deepened panic. By mid-morning, the fortress lay in ruins, walls breached, guns silenced, command shattered. Patton's infantry moved in, through every gap. Sherman tanks crept forward to fire at point-blank range through the openings. Flamethrower teams cleared bunkers. Combat engineers detonated charges to collapse final strongpoints. The fighting was over almost before it began. Disorganized pockets of resistance yielded quickly. Loose stragglers surrendered when confronted. The major, holed up with a handful of followers in his bunker, drew a pistol when Americans forced their way in. A U.S. sergeant shot him dead, fulfilling Patton's promise. With their commander gone, the remaining defenders laid down arms. In less than 12 hours, a fortress that might have held out for weeks if merely besieged was reduced to rubble, and 1,000 German troops marched out as prisoners. American casualties were negligible, only a handful wounded, while roughly 200 Germans lay dead and 300 wounded. The next day, Patton toured the shattered fortress. Officers reported he showed no glee, only a quiet satisfaction that the job was done. He inspected captured wounded, ordered American medics to treat them alongside U.S. casualties, and reminded his men that once fighting ceased, prisoners were to be treated humanely. This was Patton's creed: ruthless in battle, professional in victory. Stories of the fortress's destruction spread swiftly through both armies. American soldiers saw once more that Patton offered terms first and only used force when rebuffed. German commanders circulated the tale as a warning: refuse Patton's surrender demand, and he will do exactly what he says, no more, no less, but with overwhelming efficiency. Some Wehrmacht units chose to surrender without a fight when offered terms, believing that survival lay in accepting Patton's offer rather than facing his wrath. Looking back, the Major's Defiance accomplished nothing but bloodshed. Had he yielded initially, all 1,500 men would have lived to spend the rest of the war in POW camps. Instead, hundreds died or were maimed. The fortress fell in under a day, and Patton's advance resumed almost immediately. The Great Road Junction was in American hands by nightfall, and the Third Army pressed on. There's a broader lesson here beyond military history. When you make dramatic declarations, "You'll have to kill me first," be prepared for your opponent to take you at your word. Patton did not treat the Major's boast as an opening for compromise. He treated it as a statement of preference and acted accordingly. In any leadership role, words carry weight. If you stake your honor on impossible terms, someone determined enough might answer the challenge. The fortress in eastern France may be gone, the Major's name largely forgotten, but the lesson endures. With Patton, Defiance invited destruction. Mercy followed surrender. Brutality followed obstinacy. That pattern reshaped German attitudes toward offers of capitulation for the rest of the campaign, saving countless lives later on. What might have been a costly siege turned into a swift example of decisive force and clear consequences. What do you think? Should Patton have tried harder to persuade the Major? Or was the German commander responsible for the fate he chose? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you'd like more stories like these, please like and subscribe.